Does anyone know what this is? It's called a sock darner. Ask your grandparents about sock darning and you'll unlock one of their core memories. Now, what does a sock darner do? It darns socks. Okay, what's that? So when a sock has a hole in it, you place this thing in the sock and it gives the sock shape so that you can correctly sew the hole. It's a tool for the mindset that when something is broken, you don't just throw it away. You can always fix it and make it better. But nowadays, we've lost that mindset. We just throw away socks. And this belief does not just affect socks. It affects people. If someone is broken, you can just throw them away. That's a belief. Things that are broken ought to and should be thrown away. But there's a different belief. Things that are broken can and should be fixed. That's the Christian belief that God made all things good, but due to sin, it's broken. And Christ has come to fix what is broken. And we're called to respond to Christ's love. That's the core belief of Christianity. And as Christians, we're called to accept this belief and live it out. We're in the midst of a homily series entitled Belong, Believe, Become. Last week we talked about the narrow way of belonging. Narrow in that you have to be authentic. You have to struggle with the reality of being imperfect yet loved. The belonging is not just a feeling, but it's also an action and a reality. And the more you embrace the reality of belonging through stretching yourself like the wiener dog, the more you get those feelings of belonging. At the start of the Christian journey is not perfection, but belonging. And the more you belong, the more you believe, the more you become who God desires for you. This week we're talking about belief. Belief is not some static thing. The people grow in their understanding. Every interaction, every relationship, every single piece of content that we consume, it affects our belief in some subtle ways. And the most powerful thing that affects our beliefs is those we surround ourselves with. They say that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That's why I had the personality of a 20-year-old college student. And that's why belonging is just so important, because it shapes your belief. They did a long-term study on what makes someone more likely to smoke. They discovered that if you have a friend who smokes, you are 8 times more likely to smoke. But what's wild is that if you have a friend who has a friend who smokes, someone you'll never meet, you are twice as likely to smoke. That our network, it can help us to become who we want to be, or can make us do things we don't want to do. Because who you choose to belong to, that's who you give permission to form your mind. And the question, are our minds being formed in the Christian way, to have Christian thoughts? I don't just mean thoughts about the Trinity, about Mary, about the hypostatic union. I mean thoughts about God's goodness, about God's unconditional love for you, about God's mercy. Because everything else in the Christian life, it flows from this reality that God loves me and I can trust in His word. No one's out there reading the Summa or the Catechism and saying, I don't believe this. They're experiencing themselves as unlovable, and it's causing them to move away from God's love in the church. It's causing them to have to fake who they are and fall into the wrong crowd that affirms them for the wrong reason because they don't know their true value. That's what's going on in the gospel today. 2 men enter your wedding feast. One does not know his value and has to fake it, and he takes the high table, even though he doesn't belong there. The second knows who he is and is just unafraid to take the low table. Where he sits does not affect his value. There's no shame in taking the lower table because my sense of who I am is so firmly rooted in the truth. I can freely humble myself. I don't have to be first. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be who I'm not. That I'm free to be happy as I am. But if I don't believe that, of course I grasp after that top seat. Of course I put on a mask and try to fit in. Of course I don't feel like I belong because my actions don't reflect true belonging. They aren't based in the reality of belonging. But those who have a good and holy belief in how God made you, all your actions become good and holy. So how do we get this belief? You have to be surrounded by people that support you, that love you, that are able to see your value even when you can't. Do you have the belief that you are loved as you are? If yes, then you can lower yourself safely and that belief is strengthened. But if not, you can never accept anything less than that mythical perfection, and that false belief is strengthened. They say that if you feed your angels, your devils starve. And if you feed your devils, your angels starve. And when I'm around people that feed my devils, my life gets worse and worse, But when I'm around people that feed my angels, my life gets better and better. That I can just humble myself because I don't have to play the comparison game. I don't have to be upset when others are praised. I don't have to tear myself down when I make mistakes because I believe that I am loved and I can just live from that reality. We all know about junk food, how it's not good for you. But just as junk food makes us physically sick, junk ideas make our mind sick. The fundamental problem with junk food is that it fills us but doesn't nourish us. Junk ideas fill our minds, but they don't nourish the soul. And when left unchecked, they will have drastic consequences. So as we continue the start of this school year, let us be on the lookout for that freshman 15 for the body, but also for the freshman 15 for the soul. Let us surround ourselves with people who we admire, who we want to be like, and don't surround yourself with people who tear you down and make you feel worse and worse. For this week, I have 2 tips about how to believe. Tip 1, who do you want to be? Well, who do you choose to be around? This week, find your group. Find those people that will support you and who will love you. You can find them just chilling at campus ministry, doing homework, or in the CC suite, hanging out. That everyone is invited to come and just chill. I always have fun going there. It's just so important to surround yourself with people that will support you. People that will see you with Christian eyes. That even if we're broken, we are loved and deserve to be made better. There's this thing called the Pygmalion effect. It's when our thoughts create reality. If a teacher thinks her student is brilliant, well, all those students' actions are praised and they become brilliant. If the teacher thinks her student's stupid, well, all those actions are criticized. The child stops talking, the child becomes stupid. Just think how the Pygmalion effect affects you. How do people see you? How do they treat you? And how are you allowing yourself to be formed? Because it's by surrounding yourself that you begin to grow more deeply in their belief until their belief becomes your belief. That's how I see myself, and that's who I choose to be. So choose that good group. And tip 2, just think how you obtain any idea by exposure. You saw it, you heard it, and said, this is good. I want it as my own. That's how the faith is spread. People encounter the gospel, they see its goodness, and claim it as their own. But how do people encounter the gospel? In 2 weeks, we'll be having some Stump the Priest events, and I want you all to pick a time and invite one person to go with you. Go up to them and say, hey, this looks like fun. Do you want to come with? And just bug Father Patrick. I don't know. Like, have them exposed to me. Have them exposed to the good vibes. Have them exposed to this safe place to ask questions about the faith. And help them to encounter the gospel and to grow in their belief. Plus free nacho bar. Can't go wrong. Belong, believe, become. Belonging is the start of the process. When you receive that unconditional love of Christ and his followers, and that creates trust, which creates a bridge that enables you to cross unto belief. And by crossing into the belief about who you are in God's eyes, that yes, my heart is broken, does not mean I'll be thrown away. The Christian belief is like the sock darner, that things that are broken ought to be fixed and made better. And that God loves me, and God will make me better. And this belief enables you to take the next step in the process. We'll talk about more next week. How to become who God made you to be. So may we more fully belong, to more fully believe, to more fully become. God bless.